Hello students, this is Zinalisha from Saraswat International Academy. Today we will begin with the next part of our chapter Biological Classification. In last video we have studied regarding the different methods of classifying the organisms, in which the most widely accepted system of classification was given by R.H. Whittaker. He grouped the organisms into the 5 kingdoms. The 5 kingdoms according to Whittaker are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. In the last video we have studied in detail regarding the kingdom Monera. Today we will study in detail regarding the kingdom Protista. Now, which organisms are included in the Protista kingdom? So basically it is a kingdom consisting of the single-celled eukaryotic organism. So those eukaryotic organisms which are single-celled will be placed in the kingdom Protista. This is further divided into 5 groups like chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds and protozoans. Now, organisms which belong to the Protista kingdom are mainly aquatic, and they form the link with plant, animals and fungi. So this kingdom, it forms a link with the other dealing with plants, animals and fungi. Now the characteristics of the cell, as the organisms are eukaryotic organism, so a cell will contain a well-defined nucleus, as well as they will have the membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, etc. And those organisms which are motile, they may have flagella or cilia. Cilia and flagella are the organelles mainly responsible for the motility of the organisms. Now, how the protists reproduce? They reproduce asexually as well as they may reproduce sexually. If they undergo sexual reproduction, then there will be first of all the fusion of the cells, and after the cell fusion occurs, that is, once the fertilization occurs, there will be the formation of zygote. So these are the general characteristics of the kingdom Protista. Now, the first group in the kingdom Protista is the chrysophytes. Now, what organisms are included in the chrysophytes? So, it includes the diatoms and it includes the golden algae, which is commonly called as the desmids. Now, these chrysophytes are found in fresh water as well as in the marine water. They are microscopic, which means they cannot be seen with the naked eyes, and they basically float passively in the water currents. Commonly we call them as the plankton. Most of them are photosynthetic. That means they can prepare their own food. Now in chrysophytes, the most important one is the diatoms. So we will study in detail regarding the diatoms. So diatoms, they have the cell wall which is made up of silica. That means they have the siliceous cell walls. Now this cell wall, they occur in the form of 2 thin overlapping shells, and these shells fit together like a soap box. So diatoms, they have a siliceous cell walls forming a 2 thin overlapping shells which fit together as in a soap box. That is, their cell walls are made up of silica, and this silica cell wall, they form the overlapping shells and it looks like a soap box. Now, as the cell wall, it is made up of the silica, this cell wall are indestructible. That is, they cannot be destroyed. Now, the cell wall deposits of the diatoms over billions of years in their habitat is referred to as diatomaceous earth. So what is diatomaceous earth? So whatever organisms are there, their cell walls have deposited at the bottom of the water body, and that collected structure is called as the diatomaceous earth. Now this diatomaceous earth can be used in polishing, in filtrations of oils and syrups. And these diatoms are the chief producers in the oceans. When we talk about the ocean, in that ocean ecosystem, the main producers, that is the organisms which prepare the food, they are the diatoms. So that is regarding the diatoms. So here this is the structure of these are all the structure of the diatoms, and there you can see the outer layer is nothing but the cell wall made up of the silica. Now the next group under the kingdom Protista is the dinoflagellates. Now these dinoflagellates, they are marine, that is they are found in sea water and as well as in the oceanic water body, and are photosynthetic, that means they can prepare their own food. Now when we talk about their color, they may be yellowish in color, greenish in color, brownish in color, blue or reddish in color, and this color depends upon the pigments present in their cell. So which pigments are present within their cell gives the color to that particular dinoflagellate. Now the cell wall is in the form of the cellulosic plates, whereas when we talk about the diatoms, so there the cell wall was made up of the silica, whereas when we talk about the cell wall of dinoflagellates, they are made up of the cellulose, and here the cellulose occur in the form of the plates. Now why are they called as dinoflagellates? Basically it is two. So most of these organisms have two flagella. Now out of two flagella, one will lie longitudinally and other will lie transversely in a furrow between the cell wall plates. Now I told you that the cell wall is present in the form of the plates. Now within that plates will be furrow, and in that furrow there will be the presence of the transverse flagella. So most of the organisms belonging to dinoflagellates will have two flagella. One flagella lies longitudinally and other will lie transversely. So here you will see these are the examples of the various dinoflagellates. So in most of them you can say, so this is a furrow between the cellulosic cell wall plates, and so here there is one flagellum. So this flagellum in the furrow plate, it is a transverse flagellum, and another flagellum is a longitudinal flagellum. So there are two flagellum present in the dinoflagellates. One is the transverse flagella, which occurs in a furrow between the cell wall plates, and another one is the longitudinal one. Now the most common dinoflagellates are the red dinoflagellates. So this red dinoflagellate, example of it is the gonalex. Now these red dinoflagellates, they undergo rapid multiplication, that is they undergo rapid multiplication of themselves, that is they produce in multiple numbers, and due to that the sea appears as reddish in color, and that is called as the red tide. So dinoflagellates, they can reproduce very fast, and as they reproduce very fast, they make sea to appear reddish in color. That condition is called as the red tides. Now as the number of these red dinoflagellates increases, what will happen? They release the toxins, and these toxins may kill the marine animals such as fishes. So toxins released by such large numbers of red dinoflagellates, they can kill the other marine animals like fishes. Now see, this is a red tide. You can see that the water body have completely become reddish in color due to the overgrowth of the red dinoflagellates. So that is regarding the dinoflagellates. Now next group belonging to the Protista is the euglenoids. Now these euglenoids are mainly present in the freshwater body and are mainly found in the stagnant water. Now in the first two group of organisms, we have seen that their body, or you can say surface of the cell, was having the cell wall. So here instead of cell wall, there is a protein rich layer, and that protein rich layer is called as the pellicle, and due to the presence of pellicle their body is very flexible. So instead of cell wall they consist of a protein layer called as pellicle, due to which their body is very flexible. They also consist of two flagella, one is a short one and another one is a long one. Now mostly they are photosynthetic, that is they will prepare their own food. But if the sunlight is absent, or you can say when there is a deprivation of the sunlight, they behave as heterotrophs by predating on the other smaller organism. This is very important. Though they are photosynthetic, that is in the presence of light they act as the photosynthetic organisms, which means they can prepare their own food. But in the absence of light, these organisms will behave as the heterotrophic organisms, and they will predate on the other organisms to fulfill their food requirements. They consist of the pigments, and these pigments are identical to the pigments which are present in the higher plants. Higher plants contain chlorophyll pigments. Apart from chlorophyll, other pigments are also present in plants. All those pigments mainly will be present in the euglenoid. The most common euglenoid is the euglena. So this is a structure of the euglena. This is a flagellum, you can see. This is a complete structure, and these are the various organelles which are present in the euglena. And this outer layer of the euglena is called as the pellicle layer, which is made up of the protein, and this is the flagellum. So that is regarding the euglena. Now the next group of the organisms belonging to the kingdom Protista are the slime molds. Now slime molds are saprophytic protistans. That is, they are not phototrophic, which means they cannot prepare their own food. So they are heterotrophs. Which type of heterotrophs are they? They are saprophytic. Saprophytic means they feed on the decaying organisms. So what do they feed on? They feed on the decaying twigs and leaves, and from that they will engulf the organic material. That is very important. They are saprophytic organisms which feeds on the dead twigs and leaves of the plants by engulfing the organic material present in them. Now, under the favorable conditions, they form an aggregation. Aggregation is mass, which is called as a plasmodium. Now this plasmodium grows and it spread over the several feet. So during the favorable condition they form a group, and that group is called as a plasmodium. This plasmodium spreads over the several feet where they are present. Now once the unfavorable condition arrives, what this plasmodium will form? It will form the fruiting bodies. Fruiting bodies are the structures which when get the favorable condition will develop a new organism. So the plasmodium in the unfavorable condition it forms the fruiting bodies, and these fruiting bodies will have the spores at their tip. Now these spores they possess the true walls. They are resistant and survive under adverse conditions for many years, and then these spores can be dispersed by air currents. Listen very carefully, students. When the conditions are favorable, they form the plasmodium. During the unfavorable condition, plasmodium gets converted into fruiting bodies which bear the spores on their tips. These spores have the true walls, that is, they will consist of the cell wall. These spores are very resistant, and for many years they can survive in the adverse conditions. These spores can be transported through the air currents. As soon as the favorable conditions arrive, these spores will germinate and form the new slime mold. So that is regarding the slime mold. This is one of the figure or example of the slime mold. Now the next group under the kingdom Protista is the protozoans. All the protozoans are heterotrophs. That is very important. They cannot prepare their own food. They are dependent on the autotrophic organisms for their nutrition. And which type of heterotrophs are they? They are either predators or they are parasites. Predator, it means they predate on the prey, whereas the parasites are the organisms which are dependent on the host. They are believed to be the primitive relatives of the animals. Now, these protozoans consist of the four groups. These four groups are amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. So, there are four groups of the protozoans: amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. So, we will study each of them in brief. So, first of all, the amoeboid protozoans. These organisms are found in fresh water or seawater or in the moist soil. Now, they move and capture their prey. So, basically, as I told you, the protozoans are heterotrophic, and in heterotrophic mode of nutrition, either they are predators or they are parasitic. So, these amoeboid protozoans, they capture the prey. How they capture the prey? By putting out their pseudopodia. Pseudopodia are their false legs, as they are found in amoeba. You all might have studied the structure of the amoeba. This amoeba have a false feet which is called as the pseudopodia. So, with the help of the pseudopodia, they capture their prey. Now, those amoeboid protozoan which live in marine water, they have the silica shells on their surface. So, marine amoeboid protozoans will have silica shells on their surface. The examples of the parasitic protozoan, amoeboid protozoan are entamoeba. And this entamoeba, it causes the various diseases in the human beings. So, amoeboid protozoans, they are the protozoans found in fresh water, sea water as well as in the moist soil. How do they obtain the food? So, they capture the prey by spreading out their pseudopodia. And the parasitic, some of the parasitic forms of the amoeboid protozoan example are entamoeba. So, this is a structure of amoeba. So, this is their complete this outer part. This is called as the pseudopodia. With the help of the pseudopodia, they will capture their prey. Now, next protozoans are the flagellated protozoan. Name itself suggests they will possess the flagella for the motility. Now, they are free living or parasitic. It means they can live on their own or they are dependent on the host. Name itself suggests they will have the flagella. Now, these parasitic forms, those flagellated protozoans which are parasitic, means they are dependent on the host. They cause the diseases like sleeping sickness. Now, why this disease is called sleeping sickness? Because one of the symptom of the disease is the disturbed sleeping pattern. So, the parasitic flagellated protozoan, they may cause the diseases. Example of the disease is the sleeping sickness, and the organism which causes the sleeping sickness is trypanosoma. So, this trypanosoma is a flagellated protozoan which is a parasitic one, and it causes the disease called as the sleeping sickness in the human beings. So, this is the structure of the trypanosoma which possesses the flagellum on its free surface. Now, the next protozoans are the ciliated protozoans. These ciliated protozoans are aquatic, that is, they may be found in fresh water or they may be found in marine water. And name itself suggests they consist of the thousands of cilia and it is due to the movement of cilia through which these organisms move. So, the ciliated protozoans are aquatic, actively moving organisms because of the presence of thousands of cilia on their surface. Ciliated protozoan have the cavity on their cell surface, and that cavity which opens to the cell surface is called as a gullet. So they have a gullet which opens outside to the cell surface. How do they move? So basically movement occurs through the rows of cilia. Now this movement, which is coordinated by the rows of cilia, it causes the water laden food to be stirred into the gullet. So how will they take in the food? We know that they have a cavity which is called as gullet, which opens to the outside. Now through this gullet they take the food which is present in the water. So along they will take in water, that water will contain the food. Now this food will be stirred. Stirred, it means it will be filtered, and then it will enter inside the body through the gullet. The most common protozoan, ciliated protozoan, is a paramecium. This is a structure of a paramecium. See, on the surface of the body, the surface of the paramecium, it consists of the cilia. So you can see thousands of cilia are present, and this is an opening which is called as the gullet. So through this gullet the food will be entered inside the organism, and these are the flagella, these are the cilia through which the movement of the body will be possible. So that is regarding the paramecium. Now the last group of the organisms belonging to the Protista are the sporozoans. Now they are the organisms which have the spore-like stage in their life cycle. This organism possess the spore-like stage in their life cycle. The most common organism is the Plasmodium, which is a malarial parasite, we all know, and it is responsible to cause a malaria in the human beings. This is the structure of the Plasmodium. So here we come to the end of our kingdom, that is the Protista. Thank you, students. The remaining kingdoms we will study in the next lecture. Thank you.